Hi everybody, my name is Mike Obsatz, and this is one of a series of talks. The others are porch talks. This is fireplace talks or fireside talks. How about that? And I am Professor Emeritus from Macalester College, where I taught for 40 years in the Education and Sociology departments. And I'm going to share with you a little bit today about life lessons, nuggets of wisdom, things that I learned about life that I think are very significant and maybe can help you. Given that I'm 81, going on 101, I want to share these things. So I'll start out by just sharing a little bit about what my mom and dad taught me, because that was pretty crucial to my life. We lived on a poultry farm, and we were pretty poor a good part of my life. So we worked hard, and we didn't have a lot of extra money to spend on a lot of luxuries. But we knew what was important because my parents really valued their friends, and they valued service to other people. So one of the things my mother would always say is, we're no better than anyone else, and we're no worse than anyone else. And then she would say something like, well, even the president puts his pants on one leg at a time, just like you do. So I thought that was kind of interesting that they had a perspective on equality of all, and that everyone was worth something. My mother also would say, and this was interesting, she would say, if you complain about a lot of little stuff, God will give you something really big to really complain about. So that was in a way to get me to not complain and not grumble, because I was a grumbling teenager. Another thing she said was, you get nothing for nothing. I kept trying to win contests and enter contests, like for cereal boxes and stuff. She said, well, you can enter, but don't expect to win anything. And another thing she said was, don't let your possessions possess you. And I never quite understood what she was talking about. But what I get from that now is, don't get wrapped up in external things, and don't let that define who you are. And that's pretty powerful stuff. Both my parents, my dad did not finish high school, my mom graduated high school. Both of them were extremely intelligent and hung out with a lot of different kinds of people. So what my dad used to say is, he said this quite a lot, he was a mason and a Shriner, and God was really important to him. He said, man proposes and God disposes. And I kept looking at, what are you talking about? He basically meant that we're not in control of everything. And I thought, wow, that's pretty wise. I didn't get it at the time, but if you want a better life, if you want a good life, you have to work. So a real strong work ethic. If you have your health, you have everything. And think before you speak, because once it's out, it's out. And even though you apologize, it's still out there. So that's kind of an interesting idea, too. There'll be all kinds of people that you meet, and a lot of them will tell you what to do. Let them talk, and then go do what you want. It's a very interesting way of saying, don't depend on other people to define who you are as a person. So that was sort of my early background. I went to college and graduate school, and I had many amazing professors. One of them was Abraham Maslow, who believed we were capable of doing remarkable things. He was one of the leaders of what was called back in the 60s, the human potential movement. And he said we had all kinds of gifts and all kinds of opportunities and all kinds of internal power. And we can use them for good, or we can use them for not good. So use them for good, he said. So here are some of the nuggets that I want to share with you about what I've learned in my 81 years from my parents, my professors, my friends, and other people just by being alive and spending a lot of time with a lot of different people. I was a therapist, workshop leader, men's and boys group leader, couples counseling. I did couples counseling, was a couples group leader. I even led a women's group at one point, which really kind of is a surprise to me. Okay, so here we go. 24 nuggets of wisdom. The first one, and I won't number them, but you can get an idea. It's amazing how resilient we are. We're all walking miracles. And when I think about so many people have been through so much hardship and suffering and pain, and they're still thriving. They're still making a difference. They're still out there in the world. They're still doing the loving thing. I think it's remarkable what people have been through and how strong a lot of people are and how resilient they are. So I think resilience is a very, very crucial quality that people have. And we need to be grateful for our own ability to be walking miracles, as well as we have to pay attention to how that is true for other people. They're walking miracles too. In every challenge, there is a hidden blessing. Well, it's hard to believe that sometimes when you're going through the challenge, but I think about some of the hardest things that I ever went through, and what I learned from them was amazing, and how it helped me grow and change and got me thinking about things that I wouldn't have thought about. So I have been through losses, I have been through bullying, I've been through discrimination and oppression, and a lot of hard stuff. Working hard on the farm every day, trying to get my homework done at the same time. Seeing people I love die, including my sister, who passed at a very young age. So in every challenge, there's a hidden blessing. Good, long-term friends are priceless. When we have people in our lives who are kind and good, and they're staying with us over a long period of time, that is a miracle. And it is wonderful to have long-term friends. Not every friend is going to be a long-term friend, but if you have a couple of them, they've seen you through a lot, they've known you through a lot, you've seen them through a lot. Medical issues, surgeries, deaths of people, divorces, changes, moving, and the good stuff too. The easy stuff, the good stuff, the birth of children, weddings, all of that. So hang on to the good long-term friends and appreciate how amazing it is to have them. Selective vulnerability is the way. Trustworthy friends are the best gift. It is, be cautious about being too open with people you don't know. There's a lot out there about being vulnerable and how important it is to be vulnerable. And I think vulnerability has its place. And there are times to be vulnerable with people, and there are times when you hold back a little bit, or you don't say anything because it isn't safe. So Maslow said on the need hierarchy that safety was the very first need that people had. And I think in order to be safe, you have to be selectively vulnerable. Show who you are at different levels to different people is the way to do it. So sometimes not being vulnerable might be a wise decision. Working hard does pay off. Keep at it. I know I've been writing all of my life, starting when I was a child, and it did pay off after a while because I wrote a lot of things. I probably wrote, for sure, 3 published books, several other books, and about 500 articles over the years that I've gotten out there into the world, and have had a lot on different websites too, as well as podcasts. Selfish, narcissistic qualities in people can be a drain, and you can only take people like that in small doses. It's interesting, if you know someone who is really, really self-absorbed, you can be with them and you can care about them, but after a while, it will take some energy. And also, if they're not interested in you at all, that's a sign that they're not really the friend that you need. So again, be selective about who you spend your time with. Life is about comings and goings, and many people leave, but that is all right. David Rico has a book called The 5 Things We Cannot Change, and he said everything changes and ends, and it really does. We change, we end in this form. Friends come, friends go. We have friends for a season, friends for a reason, and friends forever. Not everybody is there for a long time. Some people can be there for a very short time and make a major difference in your life. Other people can be there in a longer time. So if you think about making a list of all the people who've affected you, who've influenced you, who've cared about you, who've given you gifts of some kind, whether it's appreciation or caring about you or whatever, it's amazing. Comings and goings. We grieve when we lose people, but it is inevitable that some people will leave. Some people will die, other people will find other places to go and be with other people. Being of service to others brings joy. Really making a difference, helping other people. Decide who you want to help and what are your gifts, and then use them. Use your gifts to help other people have better lives. My dad did that through his Masonic work. They raised lots of money for children's hospitals. There's still the Shriners Hospital, the Shriners Hospitals for children. My dad used to visit a lot of people in the hospital. My mom was on the phone with her friends, being supportive of people and doing other good things of service. The way to live in peace is to be grateful for what you have and realize that there are plenty of people who wish they could have what you have and have some of what you have. I think really appreciating what you have means making a list of all the good stuff and saying, wow, I can walk today, I can see today, or whatever else you have, and really noticing and paying attention and being mindful of this. There are many brilliant teachers, and many people have something to teach us. So realize that even some of the people that we don't necessarily think of too fondly can be real teachers to us. I've learned a lot from people, from so many people in so many different situations. Early on in my life, I was exposed to music. My parents loved music, and my dad loved opera. My mom loved Broadway show music. They both loved other kinds of music too, and they exposed me to a lot of cultural things. And I think it's wonderful to have people who will say, hey, how about this? Have you heard this, or have you seen this? It's important to not be hooked on praise, applause, or external validation. Inner knowing that you are worthy is enough. Now, that's easier to say than to do, because we live in a culture which I call empire consciousness, which is really based on the applause and praise and external validation, and the competition and the hierarchy and the domination. So the goal is, in an empire, that you're never enough. And it's very opposite to what we really need to believe. We really do need to believe that we are doing the best we can, we are enough, and we are only growing and getting better all the time because of who we are. Now, spiritually, you can take that to also mean that you are loved, lovable, and loving. And spiritually, if you are loved, then you don't need the applause and praise of people, because you already have everything inside you. And spiritually, if you're connected to spirit or God or higher power, you have the most important thing. which is real, genuine, pure love. Be kind to everyone, especially caregivers, especially people who do service for you, but also just everyone, as much as you can. Kindness is really a very important value, because be kind and gentle and humble. 'Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free. You know, simplicity and humility and kindness, I think, really go together. So the idea of having an attitude of gratitude as well as behaviors that are kind and generous to others will really make for a better life. There aren't mistakes in life, only opportunities to grow and transform. It's really kind of interesting because we tend to be pretty critical of ourselves and make mistakes and then call them mistakes and then get down on ourselves. How could I have done that? But it's interesting, very often the things that we do that don't seem right at this time or any time can provide amazing gifts and opportunities. I think about some, quote, mistakes that I've made, and the best possible things have come out of them in terms of learning things, but also the creation of things, including children or books or just so much beauty in the world. So be careful about negative attitudes and what's called stinking thinking, which is putting yourself down, being hypercritical, never being enough. And then there's the idea of shoulding all over yourself, where you should have done this and why didn't you do that, and so on. And I think it's really important to live realizing that we're not perfect, but we are in some ways beautifully created to grow and learn, not necessarily to make a choice that would be considered by everybody to be the best choice all the time. So along with that, letting go of the past, forgiving oneself and others is crucial for inner peace. Letting go of the past. The past was amazing in certain ways because it got you to here. And even though we can judge what was good or bad, we don't always know why we're doing what we're doing or how it's going to turn out. So part of this is related to trusting the process. We learn to trust the process. We learn and grow and we trust the process. And the key with that is living in oneness consciousness is the best way to cope with life's challenges. We are all connected. We are all lovable. We are all worthy. We are all, on some core level, needing the same things and wanting the same things. So oneness consciousness to me is the way we get past oppression, we get past hierarchy and domination, we get past control issues. Oneness consciousness just means knowing how we are spiritually connected, how we are emotionally connected, and how we are physically connected. You can be physically connected these days through media. You can, so you can actually see people who are far away all the time. Here's another one that I think is very, very important, and that is don't expect people to truly understand what really matters. Because sometimes other people don't quite get it. And you can get upset with them for not getting what really matters, but they're on their journey doing it the way they're doing it, and hopefully they're not hurting too many people. Don't expect to be understood by everyone. Boy, I think we're much more complicated than people realize, and I think when someone says, oh, I know all about you, you're this, I laugh because you have no idea. You have no idea who I am. You have no idea what I've been through. You have no idea what I've had to overcome. You have no idea what I've created You have no idea who I've learned from. So I think that there is a power in knowing who you are, and that other people are not necessarily going to appreciate that all the time, or even get that of who you are. And what you really are is a child of God, a child of the universe, a child of spirit. And all the labels, they limit us. Being grouped into a category is not necessarily helpful, because not all people in that category are the same. So we have to be more flexible and more understanding of the individuality of people and the oneness of people at the same time. That may sound contradictory, but it's not. Oneness and individuality can go together. What really matters is using your gifts to make life better for others. So first you have to figure out what your gifts are. Then you have to figure out ways to plug in those gifts into the world to make life better. Everybody has gifts. Some people are more verbal than others. Some people can write better than others. Some people are really good at emotional things with other people. So what really matters is using one's gift to make life better for others. Doing an inventory of what you got, be grateful for what it is, and then figure out how to make a difference. I knew a nun at a spiritual retreat center who said, and she was 85 at the time, and she said, I want God to use me until God uses me up, which I thought was a really interesting way of looking at it. Feelings are important, but you can dwell on them too much, and you can become so feeling connected that you become immobile, or also it can involve self-pity and feeling like a victim. And I think it's okay to be disappointed, it's okay to hurt, it's okay to be angry, but it's like we cannot be led totally by how we feel at the moment. So that's, I think, pretty important. Feelings do matter. And I think one of the things we do in life is we try to empathize and be compassionate with other people. And our feelings, knowing our own feelings and knowing who we are, is helpful in terms of really getting in touch with what other people are like, what they're going through, how they've made it through it, how resilient they are. So feelings are important, but don't stay stuck in feelings, especially feelings that are about poor me, those kind of feelings. Find people who love themselves and know how to love. You can do an assessment when you meet somebody and go, oh, I wonder if they really love themselves. And you can look for signs that show that they do or show that they don't love themselves that much. So that's kind of an interesting idea, because people have a hard time loving other people if they don't love themselves. Our spiritual connection is that we are lovable, and we need to love ourselves too. And that means we need self-compassion, we need to forgive ourselves, and we need to appreciate how amazing we are. Nature is a great healer, and spending time in nature is really important, and it's refreshing and renewing. I also think a variety of spiritual practices are helpful, and sometimes they involve nature. So prayer, meditation, quiet time, there are lots of ways of sort of stilling oneself and living and being in the moment. It's interesting that when we look at the important things in life, a lot of them involve complex, hard situations. But underneath it all, it's important to have a lightheartedness that can be helpful for us. That we laugh, that we're playful, that we're gentle, that we're kind. And to see the journey as an amazing experience. I mean, it's incredible to have had this amount of time on this planet and to be able to go through and live in a variety of places with so many different kinds of people. I've lived in inner city areas, I've lived in large cities, I've lived on a farm, I've lived in rural areas, I've lived in the suburban areas, I've lived in the Midwest, I've lived in the East, I've visited the West quite a bit. And I think, it's amazing to have so many opportunities. So really, the most important, powerful thing that I can say is it's a gift to have a life where you can have opportunities to grow, to be with other people, to help the transformation process. The world right now is suffering in a lot of ways. There are a lot of hurting people, and there's a climate issue with environmental issues. There's a lot of hard things going on. There are wars, there's discord in a lot of places. And I think the only way to transcend that is to move to a place of humility, kindness, and gratitude, and seeing the connectedness and oneness of everybody. The journey is what it's about. The journey is always showing us new opportunities and new experiences. And life is amazing. And we are indeed walking miracles. Thank you very much for listening and watching.